Good evening and welcome to those of you who are here at the Untitled Day School for the first time. We give you a very special and warm welcome this evening. Welcome to HOD and welcome to our school family. We're very happy that you and your children will be joining our school family in September. I'm Linda Balfour. I'm the lucky person to be principal here at the Untitled Day School. And as you can see, we have a cast of people who will be sharing some information that I'm sure that you are looking forward to hearing about the kindergarten experience here at the Untitled Day School. So as I said, we welcome you. This is a meeting for you, so throughout the presentations, if you have any questions, feel free to ask questions, and at the end we will also have time to field more questions that you may have. So we're welcome parents and guardians of the class of 2031. That's hard to believe, isn't it? 2031. Okay, so we have the agenda this evening. You have a copy of it in your packet, but we have, we'll first of all start with introductions. We will have some information about some parent resources here at the Untitled Day School and in the Norfolk Public Schools. We'll talk about kindergarten from registration to the first day of school. We will talk about bus transportation. Whoops. We will talk about kindergarten screening. We will have information about a day in kindergarten at HOD, what a day will look like for your child in kindergarten. And we will talk about getting ready for kindergarten. We'll have a question and answer period at the end. And then the opportunity to get a tour of the Untitled Day School for those people who are not familiar with our school. So let's start out with introductions. First of all, we always talk about kindergarten being a magical year of learning and growing for our children. And seated to my right are the magicians that make that happen, along with their magicians' assistants who are not here this evening. But let me start by starting with the person closest to me. We have Mrs. Jen Pfeiffer. Good evening. We have Mrs. Sonia Cataldo, Mrs. Kelly Krause. Right behind her, Mrs. Kathleen Murphy-White, Mrs. Sharon Griffin, Ms. Kylie Day, and the fabulous Mrs. O'Shea. She likes to be introduced, so yes, this is Kathy O'Shea. And then over on this side, we have Dr. Anna Tupper, who is our Director of Student Support Services. We have Carolyn Kelly, our School Adjustment Counselor. We have Mrs. Kendra Bixby, who is the co-chairperson of our CPAC, and she'll be talking a little bit about CPAC and what that offers for parents for resources. We have Ann Hurley, who is our school nurse, and we have Mrs. Rachel Diamond from our PTO. So I think we are going to begin actually with our parent resources so that they can get on about their evening because your children are already in school. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Kendra Bixby and I am the president of the Norfolk Special Education Parent Advisory Council. This will be my 4th year running it, and it is a really wonderful resource. I'm just going to read a little bit from here and then I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're about. So, the Norfolk Special Education Parent Advisory Council, which is also known as CPAC, when you get it in your emails, it'll be spelled out SEPAC, and you'll be like, what is this? Well, this is what it is. It's the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. And we strive to collaborate with and advise the school committee and administration to continually improve the educational opportunities for all the children in and outside of our school district. So what that means is we'll have different types of workshops and different types of parent resources where you would come in and learn about the 504 plan or learn about an IEP. We just had a really great collaboration with 3 different districts with Jessica Minahan on children's anxiety, which was a huge success. We're hoping to have that again next year. And there are several other opportunities. We'll have the playground evening at the end of the summer. we collaborate with the PTO, and we offer a playground evening for all the incoming K kids to the families to meet, and some old friends and some new friends, and I think that's about it. So I look forward to seeing some of you this year. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Rachel Diamond. I have a third grader and a first grader, so I've been through this kindergarten process twice, and we had a wonderful experience thanks to all the staff at HOD. I'm here from the PTO, which, just to give you like a brief rundown of what it is and how to get involved if you choose to when your child starts here at HOD. And you're going to get a lot of information tonight, so if you feel like you don't remember something later on, don't worry. We'll try to make this available to you some way and give you some contact information so you can reach out to people. Basically, the PTO is an organization run by volunteers to benefit both schools, the HOD and the Freeman. And we really welcome any family members to participate, moms, dads, grandparents. You do need a background check in order to volunteer within the schools, but we need people of all different talents. So the PTO provides financial assistance and volunteer assistance to run programs and activities in both schools, especially to support the teachers and the work that they do here. If you are able to volunteer, we will put you to work no matter what your capacity. I work full time and I still volunteer quite a bit with the PTO. There are certain tasks that happen throughout the school day, help in the library, the lunchroom, outdoor recess, and I know kids love to see their parents at school and share that, a little bit of their lives with you. But there are also many other jobs that we need assistance with. So if you go ahead to the next slide, we often need very specific skill sets that we don't necessarily have as a pool of volunteers. So we may need people with financial backgrounds to help us with our budget. I am terrible with technology, so I need someone to help me right now with a Google Doc and getting things just organized. So we need people from all walks of life, and whatever your skill set, we're happy to take it and use it and appreciate it. So there are lots of things you can do to help, even if you can't volunteer on a regular basis or on a committee or even a particular event. There are lots of different events that you can just come participate in to see what they're all about and just enjoy with your children. We often have bingo night each year, movie night a couple times a year. The Color Fun Run has been a new event the last couple years that has been very popular and fun for families to participate in with their children. And really, even if you feel like I can't do any of that, I'm just so committed, or I don't want to commit to anything yet, we have other ways for you to at least be informed about what we're doing. You can always kind of offer to be on the special projects team, which is a vague way of saying we'll find a way to use your assistance because we really can use it and appreciate it. There is a lot you can do from home, behind the scenes work. For example, the Color Fun Run requires a lot of legwork collecting raffle items from local businesses. So it's something that I find myself doing when I'm out and about with my own children, just asking a local business person if they wouldn't mind donating since I'm already there anyway. And then just staying in the loop, just kind of knowing what's going on and being involved in the events that your kids are going to find fun and enhancing their education. Being involved in PTO events, or at least aware of the events that are going on and what your children have available to them, will make them feel like you really have a key role in what their experience is like at school. So these are the annual events, or the events that happen every year: bingo night, movie night, a vendor night, usually in December, to showcase some of the local businesses and give them a chance to help you with your holiday shopping. The Color Fun Run, after school trivia for the older kids, and the Coin Wars. And I love that we're able to work with the teachers. It is the parent-teacher organization. So this year, teachers were able to say, we really need money specifically for books in our classroom libraries. We need to replenish those, and that's what the fundraising from the Coin Wars went to specifically. So we're really trying to meet their needs. The PTO also does raise money through bake sales and raffles at the open houses, the Scholastic book fairs, spiritware sales, coupon books, special event tickets. You'll get information about discounted prices to different sporting events and such. Sales of the yearbook and the friend directory, which I think the friend directory is key for new families and kindergarten families. It's a way to get information about the other kids in your children's grades, so that when you want to invite people to birthday parties and such, it's really helpful to have. And basically, you know, we are part of this community, so the harder we work and the more we contribute, the better it will be for our children. See more than the bus. So that's usually my view in the morning, is waving goodbye to them on the bus. And being involved allows you to engage with other parents and families. It creates a sense of community and belonging. You get to know other people. I always kind of worry that, you know, I'm here after hours, or I'm doing that behind the scenes work, and do my kids really have any clue that what I'm doing is benefiting them, since I'm not there on the playground with them like some parents are. And I do overhear them talking to their friends, well, my mom got all the food for the bake sale, and that was a lot of work. I saw, you know, they do. They actually really do value what we're able to contribute, and they see us volunteering, so they know that it's an important thing, that everyone has to chip in to make things happen in a positive way. So if you would like to kind of stay in the loop between now and the start of next school year, when you'll get a whole bunch more information, I'm just going to send around a really simple sheet tonight. If you'd like to add your name and email address, it just lets us know that you'd like to hear more about the PTO over the next few months. Of course, you'll have an opportunity in the fall again to join the PTO and help out with the PTO, but I'm just going to send this around, and Mrs. Balfour can hang on to it for me, and I'll pick it up in a couple days. And if you would like to know more about a specific volunteer opportunity, or you want to say, hey, I'm great at, you know, Google Docs, put a little note next to your email address, and we may contact you about something specific as well. So thank you very much.
We are really very, very fortunate here in Norfolk to have such a wonderful, supportive parent-teacher organization. They do so much to support us with all kinds of different things. They provide all kinds of curriculum enhancement programs. In fact, just today we had Pumpernickel Puppets that for kindergarten and first grade. They fund all kinds of different programs that are tied in with our curriculum throughout the year. They also have curriculum enhancement grants that teachers can write little mini grants for something extra that they want to do in their classroom or for their grade level. In fact, tomorrow night we hope that it will be grant night again. We've had grant night postponed, twice I think, because we just happen to have it on evenings, scheduled for evenings when we've had snow. So hopefully tomorrow we will do that. And they are very, very generous with all kinds of different support for our schools and our students. So we thank them very much. And CPAC has a wealth of resources, not just for parents of children with special needs, but really for all parents. For example, the presentation that Jessica Minahan gave the other night, I wasn't able to attend that, but I've seen Jessica Minahan many times, and she is a fabulous resource for people who have children or even adults in their family who have anxiety, either a real disorder or just anxious qualities about coming to school, going new places. So that was a great resource for parents. So thank you to both of you, and don't feel like you have to stay. Okay, people won't care. People won't mind if you leave. Okay, thank you. Okay. And next we have Mrs. Ann Hurley, who is going to, oh, wait a minute, I was going to do the overview first. But why don't you can do health information first, and then I'll just give the overview.
So my name's Ann Hurley. I'm the school nurse. I'm the one that you would get the phone call from about your child, either being sick or some issue. Everybody dreads the phone call, and I try to tell you right off the bat what's going on, not to be worried. And you shouldn't be worried because everybody's very safe here at school. I have just a couple housekeeping things that I need to talk about before kids come to kindergarten. I need physical exams and immunizations required by the state for the kids to come to kindergarten. A physical exam within the school year and immunizations that are required to enter kindergarten. If you're going to go to the doctor between now and the fall, when you go, mention to the doctor that your child is entering kindergarten, and they can check and make sure that they have the correct immunizations. There's a certain amount of immunizations that they need. And then when you get that form, send it in, and I will be calling you if they don't have enough or the correct immunizations. And surprisingly, some doctors do not keep up with it, and I have to have you go before kindergarten starts to have certain immunizations that are required. So I will let you know. That's another phone call I might have to make, but it's easy enough to do. So that's my housekeeping things that I have to do. Any information that you might have for us here at school about your child, medical condition, or just any information like my child doesn't like to go to the bathroom and shut the door or turn off the light, turn on the light, things like that, which is keeping them from going to the bathroom during the day, let's say, and they're very anxious. Information like that's very important. My child has a lot of stomach aches, things like that, very important. Along with other things that are life-threatening. We have some kids that have life-threatening food allergies. Right now I'm trying to see, we have 20 children here at school that have life-threatening food allergies throughout the grades. I have 3 kindergarten classes that are allergen-free classes, meaning either they can't have peanut snacks or peanut products brought into the classroom or other allergens. So we have that posted outside the classroom. Everybody is notified. All the teachers are trained. All the staff are trained in how to use EpiPens should somebody have a reaction. In the cafeteria, you'll see that we have it set up, that we have an allergy table. Some of the kids sit there, some of the kids don't. We go on an individual basis. If your child is severely allergic and cannot even sit next to a child that has, let's say, peanut butter, they will sit there and they won't have to be exposed, or let's say dairy, something like that. So we need to know about your child's allergy. I'll talk to you about it. I'll see what goes on at home. And we go on a totally individual basis. But we do need to know that information. I have to have doctor's orders and things like that if your child has an allergy. I did see that there are a couple kids coming in to kindergarten that have peanut, tree nut, sesame allergies. So I would need to talk to you about that ahead of time and get EpiPens here. Like I said, the staff is trained, volunteers are trained, bus drivers are trained on how to use EpiPens. So if there's ever a reaction, everybody knows how to use an EpiPen and what the signs and symptoms of a reaction are. We also have kids now, we have 2 or 3 in our school that have life-threatening bee sting allergies. So that's another issue that I have to be made aware of, and we should have EpiPens available for us here at school too. And those kids, a lot of times, will carry their EpiPens on the bus if they travel on the bus, should they need them. And again, like I said, the bus drivers are trained. If there's any other medical issues that I'm not aware of, it's always good to stop by. The more information, the better. Tell your teachers, tell me, share that information with us so that we're able to handle it. Much better to know about it than not know about it. I'm trying to think what else. Is there anything else?
They have the information about immunizations in
Yes,
the packet, right?
yes, this is this sheet here. And then if anybody is here that has a child with a food allergy, I do have the food allergy action plan that we need to have filled out by the doctors. But stop by and talk to me or give me a call. I will be talking to you before kindergarten starts, and we can get all that information. That's it in a nutshell. There's other things, but you can always get a hold of me. I'm always in my office. Give me a call. Kindergarten teachers, can you think of anything I should mention? No? Oh, thanks. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ann. As Mrs. Hurley said, you know, one concern for many parents is the whole idea of food allergies, other kinds of allergies like latex allergies, bee sting allergies, etc. But Ann has a very, very comprehensive program put in place. We're, as she said, we're all trained, we're all aware of who has allergies. And in fact, years ago, when schools were still first starting to develop protocols for allergies in the school, Anne was actually interviewed by Chronicle magazine show,
That was my claim.
that was her claim to fame. Yeah, her 10 minutes of fame was being on Chronicle because she was one of the nurses in the area that had was one of the pioneers in that
I
area.
had that VHS tape at home.
I'm sure they'll invite you back. Yeah. So, and she's very accessible, so just accessible. So please don't, when she says call her, she means a call her, email, drop by. She's always willing to talk to you. So let's see, what do we have next? Okay, I was just going to give a very brief overview of the steps, and most of you have taken most of these steps because you're here tonight. So that means that since you're here, that you have actually registered your children, most likely, and that you are well on your way. Okay, steps to kindergarten. Okay. So first of all was completing registration forms, online or in person, as soon as possible. And if you know of anyone that has a child who will be coming to kindergarten and they haven't registered, please urge them to register, because the numbers are very, very important, especially we have a very tight budget year. So it could make the difference between how many classes we have in kindergarten, whether we have 6 or whether we have 7. A difference of like 6 children can make that difference in determining how many teachers we have. So if you know of anyone that's out there that says, oh yeah, I have until September to register, please urge them to register as soon as possible, because our budget is finalized in May. Let's see, health and immunization records, Anne just talked about that. It is very important because technically children cannot come to school unless we have all of that background information on the immunization. Okay, tours of HOD will be coming up for children. We will be scheduling them with the preschools in town, and then we also schedule them for any child that attends a preschool outside of town or doesn't attend preschool at this point. We will have you come for a tour with your children. Excuse me, it could be a parent or another adult, a caretaker and adult that will be invited to come for a tour to see the school. Kindergarten screening will be coming up June 13th, 14th, and 15th if we have no more school days. If we have another snow days. If we have another snow day, then it will be the 14th, 15th, 16th. So it gets moved up according to the number of snow days that we have, because it's usually held the last 3 full days of our school year. So kindergarten does get out 3 days, actually 4 days early if you count the last half day. So kindergarten gets out 4 days earlier than grades 1 through 6. And the results of screening are sent home in July, and Dr. Tupper is going to talk more about that. You will receive an information packet that is sent home in August. There we go. Kindergarten is a full-day program for everyone. We don't have any option of a half-day program. We did, just about 3 or 4 years ago, but we don't anymore. It's all full day. The hours are the same as grades 1 through 6, which is 8:55 is the start, the official start for the school day, and 3 o'clock is our dismissal. Children can start entering the school building at 8:45 in the morning. That's when parents can start dropping off and our buses start arriving. And, the official start of the school day is 8:55. So what's in that envelope that you get in August? Well, you'll receive the teacher's name, so your child's class assignment. You'll receive a letter that will go to your child, and also a letter that goes to parents. You will receive a bus tag, which is very important to wear the first, usually we say 2 weeks of school, right? Especially that first week is very important. And there's information about things like snack and what to bring the first day. There'll be the schedule for the first week of school, because the schedule is different for our kindergarten students that first week of school. We start on August 28th. I think I have maybe some information on a slide about that. Yep. So we start school on August 28th, and that's a short week. It's just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because we have Friday off going into the long weekend for Labor Day. So Tuesday we have a visiting day with a parent or another adult. Sometimes a caretaker, sometimes it could be a grandparent or someone else in the family. But the child visits kindergarten with the adults. You'll get that schedule in your packet. On Wednesday, half of the class will attend. So this gives our teachers the opportunity to really get to know your child a little bit better and to get them familiar with the school, give them a little tour, introduce them to people. So only half of the class will come that day. And then on Thursday, the other half of the class attends. So if your child comes to school, everyone visits on Tuesday. If your child comes on Wednesday, then they will stay home Thursday and vice versa. Your child may stay home Wednesday and come in on Thursday for that first visiting day, full day visiting day.
Is that broken up alphabetically, or?
Very often it is broken up alphabetically, but if a parent has a conflict, like say, oh, I really can't, do that on Wednesday, but I could do it Thursday, if you let us know before the letters go out, we can accommodate some changes.
On the Tuesday visit with the adult, how long is that visit?
Yeah, is it an hour and a half, 2 hours, an hour and a half?
That time or just?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And you'll get all that information in your letter. Some are in the morning, some are in the afternoon. Okay. And the next Tuesday, after Labor Day, everyone comes. Okay. So for our new kindergarten students, they will be, as I said, the Norfolk Cooperative Preschool, and we're also including Story Heights Montessori School. And parents, sometimes parents just bring their children for the tours too. You will get all the information about the days and times for those tours. Okay. And you'll receive an information with all that information. And again, if there's a time that you can't make it, we can always make an individual time for you to come and tour the school. The nice thing about the visiting day, though, is that the children really get a chance to come in. They visit a kindergarten classroom, and they spend time in that teacher's classroom, 20-25 minutes in the classroom. So they don't necessarily meet the person who will be their specific teacher, but they will meet a kindergarten teacher and see a kindergarten classroom. And then they get a tour of the school and a snack. And
When does that take place? When are those tours?
those tours are in May. Just while I have everyone's attention, we always like to say that an important way to get ready for kindergarten, even though Mrs. Kelly will be talking about ways to get ready for kindergarten, is to read, read, read. If there's one thing that any kindergarten teacher or pre-K teacher or elementary educator in general would say, is just read. Read to your children all the time. And I think one fallacy is that a lot of parents think that, oh, they're starting to read on their own and they should be practicing and just reading on their own as they're learning to read. And nothing could be further from the truth, because what they can read, especially as they're emerging readers, is so limited. And what you can read to them is so rich in terms of language and content and plot and characters. So reading to your children and talking to them about it is one of the most important things you can do. In fact, one of the most fun times I had reading with my son was actually when he was reading the Harry Potter books. we read them together when he was in third, fourth grade, and around then, and it was really fun. He was perfectly capable of reading, but it was just a fun experience to do together. And then he said, "Okay, enough, Mom. I'll read the rest by myself." But it was fun. So increase time for reading activities, provide a variety of good quality books. Reading aloud to your child is the single most important thing a parent can do to build good readers. And this is just a little information about shared reading, which you'll be hearing about from the kindergarten teachers all year. Shared reading provides good modeling by an adult. It develops the concept of print and how to use reading strategies. It provides practice for language and rhyming skills. It helps develop comprehension skills. And it's just plain fun to share a book. Okay? So that's my 2 cents, and now I'm done. Okay.
Hi there. Do you want me to read it?
Yes, I do.
Not that I really want to.
No, I know.
I'm very loud, so.
But actually, no, this isn't actually for the room, it's actually for cable. Because we're filming this so that...
Okay. Oh, great. Hi, TV Land. Not a VHS yet.
I know you all want to see it all over.
Great. Yeah, good. Well, welcome to the Norfolk Public Schools. It's nice to see all of you this evening. My name is Anna Tupper, and I'm the Director of Student Support Services for the Norfolk Public Schools, which means that I oversee special education programming and also English language learner programming here for the district. Before we jump into the kindergarten screening, I just wanted to tell you a quick story about the Tuppers' first day of kindergarten. So Daddy decides to stay home for the monumental event. And his mom is running upstairs 5 minutes before the bus comes to change out of pajamas. Moms, you know how that goes. Dad yells, "Hey, there's a 5-point buck deer at the back of the house." So the kids go running to the back door. Youngest hits her head on the edge of the seat. She's only 2. Gushing blood. Mom never gets out of her pajamas. We get son number 1 to the bus. In the meantime, we have to take youngest to the doctor, who has 10 stitches, and we run back for 11:15 bus drop-off. So the point is, you do survive this. It was just yesterday that I was putting my son on the bus. Time is precious. Enjoy it. And you are leaving your children in very good hands here. Excellent. So welcome to the Norfolk Public Schools. Now we'll talk about kindergarten screening. I'm going to refer to the parent questionnaire here. And also, there's just a little overview of the kindergarten screening. So every student entering kindergarten participates in kindergarten screening. This is a mandate. It's both a federal mandate and a state mandate, and it comes out of the Department of Early Childhood and Care. So both state law, Massachusetts law, and federal law require the screening so that we can better understand the development of your child, all children who are participating in kindergarten. The screening assists the district in identifying young children who may require further evaluation, and also to determine if they need additional services. So the tool that we use, and you can see this right here in the parent questionnaire, but the tool that we use is the Early Screening Inventory Revised. We call it the ESI for short. And this screening instrument, it's not an IQ test. It's not intended for school readiness information. It really just gives us information so that we can understand where your child the performance levels with regard to speech and language, cognition, and fine and gross motor skills. So you will fill out this parent questionnaire when you come in, and you'll also be asked to fill out a hearing and vision, and also after you fill out the parent questionnaire, a hearing and vision screening will occur as well. So this is kind of how it rolls out. The staff who evaluate your children will be kindergarten teachers and preschool teachers here at HOD, and also speech and language pathologists. The screening starts in the gym. Then students are taken to small groups in the kindergarten classrooms while parents stay back to complete the paperwork and the developmental history. And typically the screening takes about an hour to an hour and a half. The dates this year, Linda ran them by you, but it's June 13th, 14th, and 15th. And after the screening is complete, your child's returned to you. Teachers and therapists will complete the screening form. The results will be mailed to you. And the results will indicate whether your child passed, whether your child needs to be rescreened in the fall, and the rescreening typically occurs like within the first month of school, or if an additional evaluation needs to be completed by the special education department, and we would not do that without your written consent, of course. But that's really what the process is all about. So any questions about kindergarten screening? No? Okay. All right, thank you. Well, good luck to you. Before you know it, your child will be graduated from college, which is happening in May. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think next up is our kindergarten team.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. We're going to show you a slideshow of the day in the life of an H. Olive Day kindergarten student. So you can all... This is the beginning. Your child comes off the bus, and we have adults that are there to greet your child and walk them in the building. And this is first thing in the morning. I'll do this one, then you go. Out front here, we have a drop-off circle. If your child's not taking the bus and you're driving them to school, there's like a loop around the flagpole. And we also have adults that will take your child out of the car and they'll walk into the building.
And here's a kindergarten student arriving for the day. At the beginning of the year, there's an army of adults at the front of the building that will meet and greet your child, and they'll read the bus tag that also says the teacher's name on it, and they'll make sure for the first couple of days of school that your child gets right to their classroom. And then after that, they're old pros at it. We have a little cubby area in each classroom. Each child has their own cubby, and there they are unpacking backpacks, lunches, folders, notes from home, all that stuff.
All right. Activity time is in the morning when the children come in, and they usually check in and unpack, and then they can go to tables. There may be, this child is doing shapes and sorting them. There may be puzzles out, Lego table, puppets. Here's children, we all have colored rugs, and they can play on the colored rug, and they're doing puzzles together. Here's one of the Lego tables. That's a big hit. They like to do that in the morning, talk to their friends.
Another activity that might be open in the morning is computers. Each classroom, actually some of the classrooms don't even have these anymore. We actually all have our own little group of iPads, so you'd be much more likely to see an iPad than a computer in the classrooms, but those are often open in the morning as well. And this is sort of opening exercises. Most of us call it rug time, where we go over a morning message, attendance, usually a poem, some other Pledge of Allegiance, some kinds of things like that. A little different in each classroom.
We have snack in kindergarten. It's usually about 15 minutes. The children get to sit in their classroom, talk to their friends, and they bring in like a juice box or a small water bottle. Small snack could be an apple or a banana or small bag of goldfish or something like that.
And during the day, we have a time, a math time. Actually, most of us have math every day, and they might participate in a math center, which would be a small group, usually kind of a game format, which makes learning so much fun that they don't actually know that they're doing math sometimes. Also during center time, we all have listening centers in our room where kids would go, and as you can see, they have headphones on. They'd be listening to a story. Many of us will have them write or draw or tell about the story after it's over.
This is a literacy center. These children are reading. We have reading pretty much every day too, and they're all reading a book. An art center would be an art table set up with some type of an art activity that they'd be doing in a small group.
And this is our handwriting program, Handwriting Without Tears. We use chalkboards, we use whiteboards, lots of different ways for kids to try to learn to write the alphabet.
We have reading, independent reading time. This child has their own book bin with books, and they're doing right now private reading, and they'd all be doing that at the same time around the classroom.
This is a picture of Writer's Workshop, which is another part of our curriculum. It starts with like a little mini focus lesson where the teacher would model some strategies, encourage the kids to try that, and then they would go and work independently at a table, writing and drawing. Open Circle is another part of our curriculum. It's our social competency program, and I think Mrs. Kelly's going to talk a little bit about that, but it is an important part of the kindergarten program. It happens 1 to 2 times a week. Kids learn about being a good friend, being a good community member, taking turns, the golden rule, all those great things.
Children can bring lunch to school. We also have a cafeteria. They can buy lunch. We all eat in the cafeteria. Right now, all the kindergarten classes go together the same lunchtime in the cafeteria. So you can also buy milk or buy lunch or bring their own lunch and drink from home. And we all eat in the cafeteria for lunch. This is just showing they can buy a hot lunch. Here's one of the cafeteria workers, and a child's buying the hot lunch. It's on a tray.
And everyone's favorite part of the day, rest time, which almost never looks like that. But it is a quiet time, and I like to think of it as kind of a sensory break. Kindergarten classrooms are very noisy, busy places, and it's just a nice time to have the lights off. Some teachers put soft music on. Kids typically will read, maybe draw. I like to call it feet off the floor time, and just a little bit of a break during the day.
This is a PE class in the gym. It's one of the specials that kindergarten students go to, and that's twice a week.
And here is our art instructor, Mr. Riley, with some students, and that's another special that the students get to go to each week. Once a week, they go and make all kinds of great creations with Mr. Riley. And here we are in the library, right where you are tonight, with our librarian, Mrs. Carney. She has a lot of great stories to read and share with the children, and they get to take a book out each week, and it's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. We also have music once a week, and here's the children actually practicing playing some instruments with the music teacher. They learn a lot of songs and instruments. Computer lab, we go to the computer lab. We have one here once a week, and we have Mark Peasy who helps us in the computer lab.
And everyone's real favorite part of the day, recess. Kindergarten, we're very fortunate to have 2 recesses. We have one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And this is our playground, which is only 3 years old, I think, something like that. It's if you haven't seen it yet, it's absolutely beautiful. And it's just a great time for kids to have some free play, run around, get some fresh air.
And the end of the day. Kindergarten students are called first. They line up in bus lines. We have adults that have the bus numbers, and they're the first ones to line up. The beginning of the year, we also have kindergarten aides that help get them in the right bus line and make sure they know where to go to line up for the bus. But there's all adults around to help them.
And after the first week or two of school, they're like old pros at it, and here's a group heading out to the bus now. And that's it.
That's it.
Any questions?
Yeah, you guys are great. Oh, well, wait a minute. We might have a question in the back.
Oh, sorry. There's the independent reading time.
Yes.
Do they already have a base of reading when they enter kindergarten, or is
We
that?
start reading right off when they start in kindergarten. The reading program. We have a reading program.
Yeah,
No,
they
no,
don't.
no,
No,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, no.
we meet them where they are.
Yeah, yeah.
And some kids will come in learning, not knowing a lot of the alphabet and sounds and whatnot. Other kids will come in maybe even reading, but we meet everybody right where they are.
And we start at the same place.
And independent
Yeah.
reading doesn't start till January.
Right.
Yes.
Independent reading is more January.
Thank you.
If you walk into the class, they'll detail it on about the bus pickup and you drop off? Or is that, can that be found somewhere?
That is posted online and in the papers, right, in August, the bus, where the bus is, yeah.
We'll be talking about that a little bit more.
And they're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute.
Talk a little bit about if like the child needs to go to the bathroom, or like, do they have a pass, or do they need a hand, or does somebody help them?
Our classrooms are right, they're all next to each other, and there are bathrooms right in between. So there's one bathroom per classroom in between, so it's really connected right to the classroom. So they don't have to go out in the hall or travel anywhere to use a bathroom when they're in their classroom. And most of us, I think, in my classroom anyway, I just say, just let me know. I need to know where you are, but just let me know and go use the bathroom.
Yes.
How many students approximately are in each class in kindergarten?
This year we have 18 to
19,
20,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, 18 to 19 this year.
It can go up to 22.
but we all have full-time assistants.
Right.
So that's the high range. In lesser years, what's the low range?
This is a low
This
range,
is a low
yeah.
range.
17, 18.
I have
would
17.
be the-
Yeah.
Would be low,
So 17 to 22 on average?
right.
How long are the recess sessions?
The morning one is 20 minutes, the afternoon, what, about 15 or so?
And they go out and, like, if there's like snow and stuff?
Yes.
Pretty much anything, unless our nurse tells us we can't.
Yeah.
She cuts us off, we would take them out. Yeah,
Rain would stay in. We'd have
yeah,
to
and
go
rain, of
inside.
course.
We go out unless it's below 20 degrees or the wind chill is below 20 degrees. And we don't go out, as they said, when it's raining,
Yeah.
but if it's snowing out, we go out.
Right,
As
right.
long as it's 20 degrees or above.
The children would bring, boots and snow pants, mittens, hats, gloves.
So is it one teacher and one assistant per class?
Yes.
Could you just talk a little bit about the busing options? What the buses,
Buses,
That's on the agenda in
Yeah.
just a little bit.
About buses.
You mentioned adults, shepherding kids inside the school from the bus or from the car. Are those teachers or volunteers or both? And
Staff members.
It's all
So staff
members.
members, they'd all be staff members.
So I do not have a slideshow for this. Just have my notes. Actually, usually our assistant principal, Mrs. Mecklenburg, does this, but she was not able to be here this evening, so I am stepping in and giving you some information about transportation and security. So let me just go over some of the basic information first, and then if you have any questions at the end, you'll have plenty of time to ask those questions. So first of all students are placed on a bus list. There's no bus fee, so every child is assigned to a bus right from the beginning of the year. As the teachers indicated, kindergartners are on the same buses as the students in grades 1 through 6. However, kindergartners all sit at the front of the bus. In fact, every bus driver really has a seating arrangement. So it's kindergarten, then first grade, then second grade, then third grade. So the 5th and 6th graders are at the very back of the bus. Students are picked up and dropped off at the general bus stop for your neighborhood. And if it's a situation where you're usually at the bus stop when the child is dropped off and the bus driver comes by and you are not there that day, they will not drop your child off. So if that's your usual pattern, that you're there at the bus stop every day, or you're visible like up, in your driveway, and they see you every day, your child will not be dropped off if you are not there or visible. But then sometimes, there are children too that, getting off with an older brother or sister or an older neighbor, and so they would just get off the bus because that's their usual routine. When students arrive at HOD in the morning, the buses come right up the bus lane, which is the driveway that's between the building and the playground, and the children are dropped off there. There are several adults out there every morning. There are usually at least 3 to 4 adults that are standing waiting for the buses. An adult generally goes up to the door of the bus, make sure that the children get off the bus, walk right into the building. There are also people on duty. In fact, Mrs. Hurley is always on duty there in the main hallway there by our main bulletin board, which you will see if you aren't familiar with the building already when we go on our tour. So there are 2 adults standing there as well. So there are plenty of people to make sure that your child gets off the bus safely and then comes right into the building. As we said, kindergarten students should wear their bus tags, especially those first couple of weeks of school, because when they get off the bus and they have their bus tag on, then we know automatically that's a kindergarten child and they may need assistance to get to their classroom. However, the first, probably 3 days of school, it's sort of an all hands on deck. So I think all of either the assistants or the teachers are right at the door waiting for the buses to come in. Plus every specialist, every adult that we have in the building who's available is out there to help not only the kindergarten students, but all our first and second graders have new classroom assignments too. So we're there to make sure that everybody gets to their classroom safely. And so you don't have to worry about your child getting off the bus and not knowing where to go, because there'll be 5 adults on them immediately asking if they need assistance. In fact, usually what happens with the kindergarten kids is that after 2 weeks they'll go go away. I got this, I know where my room is. I really don't need any help anymore. But to have those tags on is so helpful, because if a child is a little bit anxious, then all we have to do is read their tag. We don't have to get the verbal information from them. Okay, so as I said, there will be adults to escort the children to their classrooms for those first few weeks. At dismissal time, as the teachers indicated, the buses are called in groups of either 4 buses at a time or 5 buses at a time. This year we have 14 buses, so we have 2 groups of 5 and 1 group of 4. It's very orderly. We have teachers or other staff members who are on duty. We stand out in the hallway. Everyone has their bus number that they hold up. I should have brought one to show. They'll say 1 on it. What? Oh, right there. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So they'll hold up, bus 6. So the children know that if they're on bus 6, they get into that line. But with kindergarten, especially probably the first month of school, the assistants are walking the groups down. So they make sure that they get into the appropriate bus line. Kindergarten is always called first, and then there's a lull of about 3 minutes before first and second graders are called. And then they come down. The adult, as you can see, there leads the bus line right out to the bus, make sure that they all get on and they get seated. Okay. The kindergarten teacher assistant makes sure that each child is in the correct bus line every day, especially that first month. They're there checking bus tags every single day, okay, making sure that everyone is in the correct bus line until the children get acclimated to the routine and get familiar with who else is on their bus. So then, as I said, the adult leads the bus line right out to the buses. During the summer, you'll receive a packet of information, as we said before. That packet will include that bus tag. Very important that they wear that. And the classroom teacher, actually the kindergarten teacher, is the one to put the bus number on the tag, because sometimes they're still changing routes a little bit, even towards the end of August. So rather than give you a bus number, at the August 10th, and then have that bus number change, we wait until the children come to school, and then we put the bus number on there. Okay? Children may only ride another bus with permission from someone in the office. So if you would like your child to ride another bus, the only time that we allow that is for child care purposes or in the case of an emergency. You know, if something came up and you're not going to be at home that afternoon and you'd like them to go to a friend's home, then you would need to send us an email or a note, a phone call or whatever, and tell us what you'd like that change to be. But it's not for play dates because our buses are pretty full. So we can't be having, you know, extra children go on buses on any given day. But, and for daycare, sometimes there's a child that goes, you know, 3 days a week to a home for daycare after school. Or they come from that home, you know, that home daycare when they're coming to school. So that's perfectly fine. But we always need a note about anything that your child is going to do. And that goes for dismissal too, if you're going to pick up your child, if you're picking them up early, or even if you're picking them up at the regular time, we need that note. Because the teachers can tell you that if, you know, sometimes we'll have our little guys coming to school and they'll go, I'm being picked up today. Okay, well, we don't have a note, you know, we need a note. And they go, well, I know, you know, my mom said this morning, she's picking me up. And then they worry all day until you call or email or whatever. It is so much easier for everyone if you just send that note, or sometimes teachers prefer to get an email in the morning, whatever the arrangement is, but to do that like at 8:30 in the morning, not wait until 1 o'clock when everyone is sort of, you know, children are upset and we're trying to reach you at home, and at the end of the day we are not quite sure what the child is supposed to do. But we cannot take their word for it. Obviously, they're 5. We've learned over the years. Don't take. Yeah, very often. Most often they're right, but we still can't take their word for it. Parent drop-off. If you're driving your child to school, then you'll come right into the circle right out here where the flagpole is. And we have a pretty efficient system for that as well. You just pull up. Your child should be seated on the curb side of the car so the child can get out very easily. We have someone that opens the door. We have staff members there, again, 3 or 4 people on any given morning. They open the door, they make sure your child gets out safely with their backpack or whatever else they have, and we make sure that they walk into school. So once your child gets out of the car, you can just drive away, keep the flow going. Of course, we always prefer that the children ride the bus because, first of all, it's the most efficient. It doesn't cause, you know, traffic jams. And the other thing, too, that I'm a firm believer that you learn a lot on the bus, you know? And I know sometimes parents of young children are concerned that they're learning things that aren't so good, like maybe some off-color language or something. Usually that's at the back of the bus, and we do try to control that. But you really do learn a lot. You know, we don't have a lot of opportunities for kids anymore to learn negotiating skills or how to conduct themselves or how to deal with situations. And we're finding more and more that I think sometimes we have a lot of children that because they've lived in a very protected environment where everything is set and there's always an adult there with them, you know, negotiating for them and protecting them, that that can cause anxiety. And I don't know if Mrs. Kelly would agree with that. But, you know, it causes them to feel like they can't deal with certain situations. So the bus, I think, is a good medium kind of a situation where you can learn to negotiate. You can learn that you can gain confidence in yourself and your ability to sit and get along with the child next to you, or to report things to adults if something isn't quite right. But I think it's a real learning skill. I grew up in the city, you know, on public transportation, and I learned a lot on the T, I'll tell you. So anyway, and obviously we want to know if there was any problem on the bus because we certainly intervene and advocate for the children. But it's a good way for them to practice their skills, their communication skills. Absolutely.
I also got quite find that a lot of the times the kids come in and they don't know anybody else and they don't have any friends, and a lot of friendships for these kindergartners are made on the bus. So they have that one comfort person that they met for, you know, oh hey, I'm Miss Day, what's your name? You know, and that's now somebody that they have, whether it's in their classroom or in a different classroom, it's somebody that, a familiar face that they know coming into school, and they do have that friendship.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's just another thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I love
And I
Riding
know-
on the bus.
They do. Most of the kids love riding on the bus, yeah. Yeah. And I know sometimes kids will complain, you know, and they'll say like, oh, it's a long ride or whatever. But you know, that's another thing. Kids need to learn to, that's life. Sometimes you just have to deal, you know. You have to learn to deal with situations that aren't perfect and aren't exactly your choice. And I think, I think we deal with that every day with, you know, just trying to teach kids to be flexible friends, to think outside the box, to, you know, bring to the forefront their own resources for dealing with things. Obviously, I'm not talking about anything that's like a dangerous situation or anything where like a child is car sick all the time. You know, those are totally different kinds of situations. But for the most part, we think it's a good learning experience. Okay, so let me see. We talked about drop-off, okay. And okay, pickup, if you're going to be picking up your child from school, if it's an early dismissal, like for a doctor's appointment or something, you would, first of all, always send a note in the morning, any kind of a change in your child's regular routine. And you would pick up, let's say you were picking up at 2:15, then that would be in the office. If it's 3 o'clock, the regular dismissal time, you pick up here in the library. We have 2 people on duty here. You would come in this side door at 3 o'clock. We start letting parents in. And then you meet your child and the 2 of you check out together. We make sure that they're on the pickup list and that you're the person that's designated to pick your child up. So, but you do need to park and come in to the building. Unfortunately, we just don't have a traffic pattern that can accommodate us having a flow of traffic where we just have one child at a time going out. We wish we did, and if we can figure anything out, we'll do that. Any questions about bus or drop-off or pickup? Yes.
What do you do before or after school care? How does that process work?
Before, after, at here, at the SAC program, the school-age child care program. That, if they go there, you drop them off at that program, and you'd get all the information about that program and how to drop off in the morning. And then the children are just dismissed from there at 9:15, and they walk to their classrooms. Again, the SAC staff, especially at the beginning of the year, they walk every child to the classroom. And then after they get into the routine, after a month or so, they probably just dismiss the children, you know, kindergartners, walk to your classrooms, you know, first graders, etc. Same for after school. They go from their classroom right to the SAC program, and there is a designated area where there's SAC personnel there, and they check off the children every day that are supposed to be there, and if they're not there and they're not on the absent list, then we, you know, investigate further. Mm-hmm.
And when we
Okay.
pick up from the after-school program, do we go to well, they're outside too sometimes.
Well, sometimes they're outside playing, but sometimes they use the art room, they use the music room, and they use the cafeteria. But actually, parents have there's a keypad, and you have a code. So each parent has a code. So for getting in the morning to drop your child off, and for picking your child up in the afternoon as well.
Is that code true for throughout the day for all kids or just for morning?
No, it's only for SAC children. It's a unique code. It's not all parents have the same code, and it's only for during SAC hours. So it would be effective like at 7 o'clock to 7:45, and then again, well, probably starting at 3:15, the time they go there until 6:15, the time that SAC dismisses. Mm-hmm. Yes?
If your child is riding the bus, do they have to ride every day, or could you do like some days and not
Sure.
all days?
Sure, that's your choice, yeah. Yeah. As a parent, you have that choice. Mm-hmm. Any other questions about those things?
You gave about the bus driver
didn't see you, say, standing in the driveway or at the bus stop, I'm assuming the child would then be brought back to school?
Yes. Usually, they'll very often call. Sometimes what the bus drivers will do too is they'll go and they'll finish their route and then sometimes swing by again to see if anyone's home, or they'll call us and we'll see if we can contact a parent at home. But if that's not your usual routine, if the child usually is just dropped off, then they would not be obviously looking for you. Yeah. The bus drivers really get to know the children and the families and their routines pretty quickly.
How long is the average bus route?
I don't know if there's a real, probably if I said an average, probably 20 minutes, but it can be up to 40. Usually what we try to do is we try to reverse the bus routes, so the children who get dropped off, or let's say picked up first in the morning are dropped off first in the afternoon. We do that as much as possible. Sometimes it's not always possible to completely reverse the routes, because there are certain roads that we need, you know, like busy roads that we need to make sure that we're on the right side of the street. So, but we do try to do that as much as possible. And the other thing too is that sometimes parents are thinking, oh my gosh, you know, dismissal is at 3, my child has been on the bus for 45 minutes. But you know, the buses don't leave here at 3. We just start lining up at 3. So the first buses probably leave here at 7 or 8 minutes past 3, and it's all the way till like 3:20, 3:22 that they're leaving here. So so you can't go by starting at 3. You know, if your child gets home at 3:45, you can't assume that they've been on the bus for 45 minutes. Okay. Yes.
When picking up, if you're picking up your child, do you need to bring a photo ID, or how do you know who's acceptable and who isn't acceptable?
Right. No, well, first of all, we have, you know, notes from parents. So if it's a parent, or if you say you call or email and say, you know, someone else is picking up my child, if they're on the pickup list, because we have emergency contacts for every child, then they just need to come in and tell us who they are. If it's someone who, and usually we do ask for a photo ID if it's someone who has never picked up that child before. But very often we get to know like grandparents, aunts, uncles, people like that are usual.
You don't
very
ask
often.
for a photo ID even if it's not the parent.
No, if we do.
Pardon me, I do this duty frequently,
Mm-hmm.
actually every week. And there are times when I need to ask for a
Photo ID.
Typically, it's the same mom or dad picking up every week, or a you know, family friend, their aunt, and they're listed, it says mom on the list,
right.
or Mrs. So-and-so on the list. If they're not, and it's a different name or someone we don't know, I
No,
definitely
we ask for a photo ID.
So,
And if you called and said, you know, my neighbor who is not on the list will be picking up today, we ask for a photo ID. Yes, yep. Any other questions about transportation?
Is there a practice run for the buses?
Is there a what?
A practice run for them to try the bus?
If the child attends preschool in town, we do a practice for that. But that's really the only practice that we do. Okay, yes.
So with the bus tags, I would give my child a bus tag who would literally wear it on the bus, and you guys read it and take them off. And then do they literally take that bus tag off, like stick it in their cubby during the day, and then put it back on?
Yes.
We just hold them till the end of the day.
Okay.
And then we give them, put them on them each day.
Thanks.
Are each of these students first to be dropped off and then Freeman happens?
No, because it all depends on where they live along the route.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really by route.
And how do we find out the time of pickup?
Okay. Right. That is usually available, like the Sun Chronicle has it, our website has the routes. The best gauge is probably asking your neighbors who have had children, because the bus routes don't tend to vary a great deal from year to year. I mean, sometimes they do. But the other thing is you'll be getting an email, all of our parents, we've been sending an email the last couple of years, probably 4 or 5 days before school starts, And it will have the link to where you can find out the information about the bus route. Any other questions about that? Yes.
Hi, sorry, just a question about the little ones with the new school, new adjustment with separation and the initial drop-off and getting them used to, if I were to drop them off, how do you deal with the initial separation?
Right. Mrs. Kelly is going to be talking about that in just a minute. Yeah. Okay.
And did you say every kid gets a bus tag, whether they're bused or not?
Yes, every child has a bus ticket.
We
Yep.
assume everyone will potentially be on a bus, and if, if you're dropping them off, obviously, we don't need to know
Right.
So at the end of the day, if my child's put a bus tag back on, but she's not gonna be on the bus, she won't be put onto a bus?
Oh, no. No.
As long, if we know exactly what.
No, yeah, if we know whatever the plan is, if your child's going to the after-school childcare program or whatever, then, yeah, the teacher knows that, and those children are dismissed in a group, or maybe if it's just one child from the classroom that's going.
And that
But-
tag would go in like the take-home folder, so that
Right.
we have it for the next morning when she gets on the bus.
Okay. Okay, let me just talk a little bit about security. Here at HOD, our doors, all of our doors are locked at all times. The only exception is in the morning when we're out there, and as I said, we have like 4 adults greeting the buses, and the children are coming off the buses. We do have the front doors open, but there are always adults there monitoring anyone who's going in and out. That's for about 10 minutes, from 8:45 to 8:55, while the children are coming in. Other than that, our doors are locked all around the building. Those of you that are familiar with the school know that we have really a double door entry system, where you have to come and you have to buzz, to have the door opened. The door is unlocked, and then you come into an entryway. And then we have another opportunity to take a look at who you are. I mean, usually we recognize parents or know that, Mrs. So-and-so is coming to pick up Johnny at this time or whatever. But there are times when we just say, oh, why are you visiting today? Or what's your reason for being here? And then we have the opportunity to check that out, not just once, but twice, because we have that double system. And then every visitor that comes in has to come into the office. They have to sign in. They have to get a badge, which looks sort of like this, only it just says, visitor or volunteer. So even if we have a person who's a volunteer here, they're volunteer here 3 times a week, they still need to sign in. They still need to get a badge and to wear it while they're here. All of our staff members have a photo ID that they wear either around their neck or, attached to their clothing somewhere with a clip. But every staff member has to have a visible ID on them at all times. And visitors have to have a visible sign that they have signed in at the office. We train our children too, don't ever let anyone into a door, even if it's your neighbor, even if it's your mom, no matter who it is, don't let anyone in a door. If someone's knocking on a door, then you just go tell an adult. And we train them about that, from the first day. So we talked about the double buzzer system, signing in at the office, us wearing identification tags. We also have all kinds of safety drills here. Obviously we practice fire drills. So children practice that right from the first or second day of school, so that they know what to do in the case of an emergency. We also practice in-school, we call them in-school safety drills, which are also known as lockdown drills. So unfortunately, we have those to practice, so the children practice where they would go in the classroom. And we just explained it to the children that, there are different reasons why we need to practice, being safe in school. We practice all kinds of other safety things and follow safety guidelines in the school, and sometimes we just need to practice being safe in our own classroom. So the teachers have been practicing. In fact, on Thursday, we're going to have, with our safety officer from the Norfolk PD, he'll be here just to come and see how we're doing our drills. All the teachers have been trained, not only in these safety drills, but we've had advanced training from a company that does this kind of training for safety for all kinds of schools, businesses, hospitals, etc. So we have had all kinds of training about other things, because now with, unfortunately, the state of the world and different things that have happened, we don't just practice just staying in place all the time. We practice, thinking on your feet, assessing the situation, knowing what to do. It's a little bit more challenging with our young children, because it's not like older children that you can, open the door and tell them to run. So we have to always keep that in mind, the safety of our children. But it's an unfortunate turn of events that we need to be mindful of that kind of safety and what we would do. But we've had, I think, good training. We've had simulation training, which means that we've had trainings where we've had simulations of gunfire and what you would do and where you would go and where you would look and what choices you'd make, so that it kind of gets into a little bit of your motor memory of how you would react in the situation. So we obviously don't share our safety plans with everyone, with the public, but we just be assured that we do have in-school safety drills with the children, and that we have training and we have some strategies to pull from if we should ever need it. So, anyone have any questions about security or safety? No? Okay, very good. So on that note, we will have Mrs. Kelly. Yeah.
I'm going after that sobering note.
Right, yeah. Well, you'll be the fun one.
Oh, I'm the fun one.
Right.
All right, so let's see. First, I have to get my my PowerPoint up. There we go. Thank you. So my name's Carolyn Kelly, and I am the school adjustment counselor here. I promised I would try to keep it short. I tend to be a little bit gregarious, so all right. But I will keep it on point. So I wanted to talk briefly about kindergarten readiness and separation anxiety, and just kind of what's coming ahead. As you come to the HOD, there are so many amazing things that lie ahead. I'm excited to hear what your kids say to you and what they share. Let's see. So when you come here, this is where, I love this, this is where the psychological process of learning is begun in earnest. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? But really what I want you to know is that this is when we're thinking about their memory, organizational skills are being developed, social interactions. And this is where they learn the routine of school and they start to build those friendships, how to be a friend. In kindergarten, we're preparing them for the rest of their academic life. We're getting them ready with routines and starting in a more structured environment. And when they enter, we expect them to be active. They are very active, correct? Curious, we want them to be curious. What's going on? Their whole day is something new. And then very eager learners. All of those things are great qualities, and we're going to help them learn how to do things appropriately. If they're really eager and they like to call out, well, we're going to teach them to raise their hand, because that's what we expect in school. But all of those qualities are really important. And aside from that, we have a huge range of abilities with kids. So some come in and they kind of already know the routine and the drill, and they maybe were in preschool and they had that opportunity. But other kids have never been in an organized setting, so we have to kind of go with what they have to share. So when I think of school readiness, we always think, is my kid ready for school? Is my child ready? Do they have what they need? But really, I also want you to think that we, the educators, we also need to be as ready for your child as they need to be ready for us. So like I said, they come from a variety of backgrounds. Some have gone to school. Some have gone to little activities. Some have been able to do play dates. But some kids really have never been in an activity or been with other kids other than their own family. So that's a huge array of experiences. And Really what we want them to be able to come into an environment that's social, but also more academic than it has been previously. There's some play time, there's some free choice, but it is beginning to be more academic. All right. So when I think about this, for brain development, that's the gauge of readiness. So what I mean by that is, if your child's a little smaller, maybe socially a little behind, but they have the language skills and they've got the cognitive abilities and perceptual skills, and those things are in place, that's a really good indicator that they're ready to come to school. If they're a little smaller. It's that intellectual opportunity. And if you think they're ready, if they're in preschool, your preschool teachers are going to give you a sense of that. That's what I want to think of. I have a lot of parents that always say, well, my child's really small for his age. A little immature. Well, okay. But are they ready to learn? Are they ready? And that's really what we're thinking about. And that's why that myriad of checklists that you have, that you've probably seen online, and we gave you a few tonight, look at some of them. They're not going to be able to do all of this, but some of this is going to help you. Okay. Next. So there we go. All the checklists that you're getting. Your kids are going to probably be able to do a bunch of things on these checklists, but don't worry that they're not going to be able to do all of them. And then the other piece of it, when someone said they're reading in kindergarten, they are reading in kindergarten now. That's an amazing revelation now. And they start independent reading in January. That's so exciting. But don't worry. That's something they all start to learn. Some kids come in reading. Some kids, it takes them time. It takes them longer than January. And we meet them where they are. So I'm going to switch gears for a second and talk a little bit about separation anxiety. And for separation anxiety, it is actually a part of normal development. So a lot of children will have separation anxiety. There are different stages in development, maybe when they're a little bit younger, and they may have it again. Every child is a little bit different, but it's very normal. For your child, you want to really be enthusiastic. Let them know you believe in them. It's time for you to go to school. This is so exciting, because they are going to take their cue from you. Bottom line, if you're excited, even if you're scared to death, or even if you're really nervous yourself about it, pump them up, because that's a really important piece. They're going to take their cue from you. And also, you got to prepare ourselves. Prepare yourself. Think about all the times you've left your child before and they've done beautifully. Think about how they handle the situation of separating, and let them know that you were fine, you're safe, and you had fun. Talk it up. If you do have a concern, though, about your child, a lot of the things that I suggest are ask a friend to help. If you have a neighbor or someone else separating at home rather than at school, if it's a huge issue, that can really help. Or have a friend come and pick them up and even walk them to the bus. Or if it's not great separating from you, see if dad's easier, have dad do that morning routine. Or if grandma or grandpa are around, have them do that routine. So think about what works best. There may be somebody else that they can separate from a little bit more easily. And every year we have students, obviously, that are really struggling. And it happens every year. But they all settle in eventually, and we are a team, and we work really hard to get them into class. And it's not always easy, and it can be heartbreaking. But we definitely are used to it, and we will work with you. So a couple of things to get your child ready as you start thinking about this is arrange a play date with another child in the class. And I know Mrs. Bixby, Kendra mentioned the playground, a playground party or something? That is just a brilliant idea. And I'm assuming it's right out here. They're on our playground, they meet some new kids, maybe some old friends too. Love it. And as you find out the list, and I'm told that there's lots of Facebook back and forth about who's in whose class. Of course, I'm not on Facebook, so. But that might be a nice way to connect with some other parents too, so they have that familiar face. When you come that first day, bingo, half the class is there with you. Maybe you connect even right then and there. So connecting a little bit ahead. Also, go to our playground. It's beautiful if you haven't been out there, and really start talking up about, hey, this is your school. This is so exciting. I remember with my kids, we'd drive by and they'd say, oh, that's my school, and they'd start telling me stories, but they were so proud of that, and we want to really encourage that. Make sure to come to our visitation day. I mean, I know schedules don't always allow, but if you can, in the spring, I would say bring them in the spring and May when we have that opportunity. Again, it's pretty cool when they come with their class and they ride the bus from, church or wherever. What's the co-op? The co-op. They come on the bus. It's really exciting. Have them come to the visitation day. And if your children don't go to one of the schools in town, come with them and let them experience it. It's just really important. And then read books. We talked about reading. Again, that's probably, as Mrs. Balfour said, the biggest thing that I recommend. And we have such a great bibliography in there. One of the books for our kiddos with separation anxiety, and I'm probably going to say the last name wrong, so you guys can correct me. Wemberly Worried. Has anyone read that with their child? Love that book. There's lots of books that you can read with a child to kind of work on anxiety or separation and problem solving, but Wemberly Worried is probably my favorite because it's before this little character goes to school, and she's so worried, and she gets there and she does beautifully. So anyway, that's my little recommendation. And I'm going to say this: do as I say, not as I do. Every year I say, with my kids, this is what we're doing. We're going to start our routines ahead of schedule. And I have never been able to pull that off. So I'm really hoping that you will pull that off. But if you can start earlier, the bedtime routine or even the morning routine, putting clothes out, any of those routines, it helps. It just kind of helps them get into the flow, helps them know what to expect. Those clear expectations are always encouraged. Again, on the first day of school and the first few weeks, take time, set aside some time, truly private time, where you can talk to your kiddo about their day. And maybe it's 5 minutes. Maybe it is just as they're going to bed. I think that bedtime tends to be that chat time when it's kind of quiet and cozy and dark. But it could be while you're just before you make dinner and it's just the two of you. But I would set aside that time so that they can really talk and not run, pick up the phone, or not have their brother or sister come whack them on the head and need your attention. A little bit of time, 5 minutes, just that undivided attention so that they know that you're interested and they feel really good about it. And then you can pump them up about how great they're doing as well. Always, this is like the cardinal rule, always say goodbye to your child. And even if they're hanging on you and we have to help a little bit, just say, I love you, I'll see you later, and then you go. You may run away, but you've said goodbye. Even if it doesn't feel like that great, wonderful goodbye you want, you still said goodbye. And I say in open circle language, and I'll tell you about open circle in a minute, it's really non-negotiable, because if you don't say goodbye, it does break that trust. So saying goodbye, it seems like a no-brainer, but when you're in the throes of that moment, when your child's having a hard time, if they have a hard time, it's really hard. And I will remind you of that if I need to, and I will remind you with great love, and we can work through that. Separate at home rather than at school, I did mention that. That actually this year I had a couple kids this worked beautifully for. They had a really hard time if they were getting dropped off, and then we had to, they couldn't get out of the car. We parked the car, and I don't want a kiddo to be sad and upset in front of everybody else, There are other times when we had a situation and we had them drop off at the back of the school, and it worked a little bit more, easily. So we can work with you on a plan, but separating at home sometimes is great. Obviously, never ridicule your child for crying. Instead, make it a little more supportive. Wow, it's really hard to say goodbye, but you can do this. That positive, supportive, I see you're having a hard time. I know it's hard, but you can do this. I know you can. You're going to have a great day. Let's see. If your child whines or clings, staying makes it harder. You'll never want to leave them, and it's very true. And again, let them know that you have confidence that they're going to be fine. I will tell you that there are times, and I say this every year, so if you've been here before, you're going to, some of this is the same. I change a few things every year, but there's always that story that I get where a kiddo has said to their mom or dad, I miss you so much, and so I cry all day, it's awful. When in fact, they're really doing great. They're in here, they're working. That's not to say they don't miss you maybe, but they really separate really well, and they think that you need to hear that. They think that you need to hear that. So it's kind of the psychology there, who knows? But I will also say that most of the time our kiddos, when they have some separation anxiety, once we get them separated, within 5 minutes, most kiddos, or less than 5 minutes, are fine. That is probably the most important thing I can tell you. That is what I would want to know as a mom or a dad. My kiddo's okay once we get them settled. So, and I will always call. If there's a problem or if I have a frequent flyer, I guess you could say, I always make sure that you are in the loop and you know the morning's going really well. Or not really well, but usually it's going really well. Okay. So we talked about the visitation, so I am not going to look at the slide. You all got that. But I am going to tell you a little bit about a program that I am fortunate enough to run. They're called lunch bunch, and they're really just small groups. It could be a snack, it could be a lunch bunch. Also, sometimes just during the day, I'm fortunate enough to grab kiddos for a little group. And so through the counseling office, and they're throughout the year, usually like 5 to 6 weeks at a shot. Some kids will come in a couple of times during the year. The goal is that before they leave HOD, that everyone has a chance to come to a lunch group just for that experience. I'd love to say that I can definitely pull that off. It's getting a little trickier as we grow, but it's a really wonderful thing. They come to my room, usually 4 to 6 kiddos. We have lunch. We maybe have a literacy connection or a story. We might play a game, do a little craft. There's a little lesson. It's a lot to pack in. You'd always get a note home telling you what we did that day. So if it's a new skill, you can practice at home or at least be aware of it. So it's actually really fun, and the kids like it because we do play a game or do some of those fun things, but it's a little quieter than a lunchroom. Lunchroom is awesome, but it's a little loud. So what's that? Oh yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I have to say, when I was a parent, though, I loved lunch duty. I know, weird. I loved lunch duty and recess duty. So, you know, my husband used to come, and it was his favorite thing too. So I think we must be the weird parents. But it's kind of fun to see them all together and meet different kids. So I highly recommend lunch and recess duty. So do sign up if you can. Some of the topics in Lunch Bunch are how to make and keep friends. Obviously, friendship issues. We really work hard on that. Anxious feelings. Sometimes there are anger groups, emotional regulation. Some of my kiddos with ADHD, I'll teach them the alert program. It's a arousal program to kind of help them become self-monitoring of their energy and overflow. Flexible family group if there's been a family change, whether it's divorce or an adoption, or it could be a whole myriad of things. And then just different groups throughout the year that I can develop if we need, depending on what we need. All right, so I would love to talk to you a little bit briefly about our MARC program, which is the bullying prevention program we have. The MARC stands for the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction, Reduction Center, and it's out of Bridgewater State. We use their curriculum. It's K-5 curriculum. So we start in kindergarten, it goes all the way over to the other school. Usually each year there's 5 lessons that these guys teach, in addition to 2 paired lessons with the 5th graders. And I think the 5th grade paired lesson is probably a highlight. It's really nice. The older kids will come over. I'll show you a picture actually. We talk about bullying vocabulary and how to handle a bullying situation, and each year we build on that. So it starts in kindergarten, but it continues. And this is a photo, more recent photo from the paired lesson. The 5th graders come over, they read a story, we do a little bullying prevention lesson. They have some worksheets they do. It's just a wonderful program, and we do the fall typically is more around friendship. because they're just here at school and we haven't had a chance to introduce the bullying prevention language and vocabulary, but in the spring it's definitely a bullying prevention lesson. So, and they're paired with a buddy in the fall, and the same buddy, they see them again in the spring. And they'll do it again in first grade, and this year second grade we're pairing as well. So it's a great program, and again, it's a nice way to have the older kids really support the younger children and give them kind of words of wisdom from them all fifth grade, right? The other piece of this is Open Circle, and our Open Circle is a social emotional learning curriculum, and we're mandated, the state were mandated to do this back in 2010, I think, that bullying prevention and Open Circle started to become you mandated. But I will tell you that we have been doing Open Circle here since this building opened. How many years ago? 25? 24 years. So Open Circle started in 1987. It was developed at the Stone Center at Wellesley College. And we really were practically in on the ground floor when they really got it all going. And those are the core areas that the curriculum focuses on. And a huge piece of it actually, really anywhere from 30 to 50% is that problem solving. And in this day and age, that problem solving is huge because, like Mrs. Balfour was saying, they don't have the same chance to kind of negotiate and build certain skills. Those problem solving skills, but then they use throughout the day, at home, at school, on the playground, on the soccer field, and they're lifelong skills that they're learning. They learn for emotional regulation, calming strategies. They learn anxiety reduction. They may learn about personal space and getting out of someone's way. So it's pretty comprehensive, and I think it builds a class culture that's very inclusive. Kids will say, this is actually a picture of an Open Circle. We actually use chairs, and they're all sitting in a chair. The idea is that anyone coming in, if I went in to visit a class, there's always an open seat, and I could join and be a part of the group, and it's always welcoming. They do that 1 or 2 times a week for 15 minutes, and you will get home links to tell you what is going on. It certainly builds school culture because not only is Mrs. Krause's classroom doing this or Mrs. Cataldo's, but the first grade, the second grade, the fifth grade. The language continues throughout all, basically 6 years, 7 years here in the Norfolk Public Schools. And I feel like we have I know we have a wonderful, welcoming community here. I can speak for this class, this particular school especially, and the kids are friendly. The kids will say, hey, how are you? They'll offer to help you. And we really work on that. We work on greeting. We work on social greeting in the fall. The ever favorite eyes and highs, right, guys? Eyes and highs. But it's all connected to Open Circle, and I feel like this is a pivotal piece in our programming. All right. What else can I tell you? The friendship bench. So this was new a couple of years ago. We'd gotten a grant to get the friendship bench, and on it says, to make a friend, be a friend. And really, again, that to me that's what it's all about. Including your friends, making sure everyone's feeling okay, giving them space if they need it, but making sure we're connected. And the tagline is HOD. It's a great place to be. And it really is. I think you'll love this school. And my kids went through it, and I felt very blessed that they had the opportunity to be here too. And, sorry, couldn't resist. And really just get ready for a great ride. So does anyone have questions? I know that was not as quick as I could have been. I'm sorry, I tried. Sorry. Any questions about this piece? If you do need support, obviously, I'm always available, Carolyn Kelly, and I'm thrilled that you're here, and I'm really looking forward to meeting your kiddos. So thank you. All right.
Okay, and as Mrs. Kelly indicated, here at HOD, really, obviously they're coming to school, so the academic curriculum is very important. But just as important to us is the social emotional piece of it. We want our children not to be just good students, we want them to be good citizens, we want them to be good friends, we want them to be good people, kind and caring and respectful. And all of that is all rolled into what we do every day, but in particular, Open Circle really hits on all of those important points. We do call ourselves a school family, and we really mean that. And we have a lot of traditions that we have that you'll be learning about. I won't go into the whole list, but throughout the year, we have different celebrations at different times of the year that our whole school participates in, and you'll be hearing all about that in your newsletters throughout the year. Any questions? Anything that we didn't cover that, yes?
Vacations, so if we want to take the kids out of school for a vacation that's not on the schedule, are there any rules?
Yes. Really, we really, we don't condone that at all. I have to be very honest.
Really?
Yeah, we really do not want children missing school. It's considered an unexcused absence in regard to our school and the state reporting that we have to do. We have to report on excused and unexcused. We completely understand that it's cheaper to go to Disney on off weeks, etc., but it's really not part of the school experience. We will not give work for children to take with them. And they will, we try to catch them up as much as possible when they come back. But when they're not in school, they're missing a very valuable experience. It's not just a worksheet. It's the lesson, the teaching that goes into it. It's the collaboration. It's the working with your friends, all of that type of thing. Now, on the other hand, we do understand too that there are times when families have certain things that they have to deal with. For example, a family member is ill in another state, and it's necessary for you to go for a week to visit or to care for them. Your children go with you. That we understand. So we will, with certain, there are certain exceptional cases where we would give work for the child to take, but for a vacation, we don't. So. And you'll be seeing.
Is there any foreign language curriculum that starts in kindergarten?
No, not at this time. We did have Spanish at one time, but it was one of the cuts that we had several years ago, and we've never been able to restore that. It's always on our wish list, though, to do that in the future. Any other questions? Yes.
So I'll just ask this: why is money seem to be so much tighter than it has been in the past?
Pardon me?
Why are budgets tighter than they've been in the past, though?
I think it's just, it has to do with, town revenue, competing, not competing, but, they're all the departments, it's all coming from one pool of resources, and there are lots of needs in a growing town. So that's really something, the advisory board or the selectmen could answer better than I. But I think it's not unusual. It goes on in so many towns these days, but yes.
How can we get more information on the before and after care programs?
Right. Let me see. I think there was information, on the registration form, maybe online. Is there information in your packet as well? Is it? Okay. Tony Marie Davis is the director. Mm-hmm. Okay. The lunch costs, that will all be online as well. And in terms of lunches, the kindergarten teachers indicated there's a choice of lunches. Usually there are 2 choices each day. And you can go online and you can pay for lunches in advance. Or children can bring their money in on a daily basis. And you'll be getting more information about that too, about how to sign up for the online payment, etc. That'll come more at the beginning of the school year. Okay. Yes.
It's pretty regular that the Tuesday after certain holidays, the schools close, like it's continued, like that happens every year. Like after Columbus Day,
right?
Right, it tends to, yeah, some of our professional development days tend to be on those days. Right.
So is it, I'm just looking at this, is it Labor Day? Columbus Day and?
Well, yeah, Labor Day, we do not have a professional development day after that. That's the first day of school. Yeah, but we do tend to do them that way because sometimes it's a day of higher than usual absence because families tend to take long weekends, trips or whatever. So we just do that so that it's automatically a long weekend for everyone. And we found that has worked well, rather than having a full professional development day on a Wednesday in the middle of the week. But we do have some half days too, as you'll see. Yes.
This isn't your area of time, but is the after-school program open on those days when there's a professional, like?
No, usually they are not on the full professional development days. On the half days, they are. Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, the last part will be a tour of the school. I know it's getting late, but if you could just raise your hand if you are interested in going on the tour so that we know how many people. Okay. Okay, great. Well, we thank you very, very much for coming this evening. We look forward to having your children join our H. Olive Day School family. And, you're in for a magical year, kindergarten. Okay, thank you.